Good morning, everybody. It's a few minutes before 9. It's 3rd of June, 2025. And as you see, temperature is very nice here right now. And yeah, news, I don't know. There's not so much real startling things in the news. It's always the same circus going on, as you guys all know. And it's Ukraine, of course, mostly running the circus. They're the circus masters. So, but let's see. I'll get into what we have here. Let's see, at this point, people are pretty much, oh, look at, that's my friend over here. Honey, I don't have any food for you. Oh, I don't have any food for you, honey. Sorry about that. I don't ever bring food when I'm doing these videos. She'll probably follow me now. She's fixed. She's a cat, been around here a few years, has a strange vision. Oh, let's see your eyes. I'm over here. Maybe she has double vision. She's running to the wrong me. I think she's like cross-eyed. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything. The cat has it tough. It's kind of gets kicked out by other cats when other cats want to take over some territory. So I shouldn't look, maybe, because it will follow me around. Poor thing. Oh, she's already right here. Was thinking once about taking that cat in, but we have 3 cats already. Took a in the meantime, we found a baby cat. It was a little very young kitten and it was crying outside. I went out there, found this cat, and took it in. And like the year before that, I was thinking of taking in this cat, but I don't know. You know how things work out. Can't take in all these cats following me around. Oh man, make me feel guilty. I got to go home and get some food. But it's friendly to a lot of people, so I'll just try not to look at it. Maybe then she'll go back somewhere or look for some food somewhere else, probably. Okay, most people are realizing, as I was trying to say, that this peace process between Russia and Ukraine is pretty much hopeless. It's not really going to happen. They're way too far apart, and they're like in different worlds. And Zelensky, of course, he's still hoping for a complete victory. And if you look at some of their demands or requests, what they want the other side to do, or how they want this conflict to end, it's, like I said, it's just too far apart. And it's like Ukraine can't, I don't know, they can't believe that they are actually, they know they're losing. Let me put it that way. But they want to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat, I guess is the word. And they're making all these demands, and in a sense, it's their position hasn't changed. Russia's hasn't changed. Actually, things have changed on the ground because Russia now has those other regions. And at the beginning, Ukraine should have taken the deal where only the Crimea was part of Russia. And it's obvious to me, and it should be obvious to anybody that is familiar over the past years, like some of these people that are a little bit older, they're familiar about geopolitics, is the West wanted to take the Crimea, mostly, of course, Sevastopol, and control the Black Sea. That's how the West is always doing everything. And Russia, I guess originally, I don't know, at one point in time they had a 99-year lease from that, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how that worked, but in any case, it's, I guess, strategic to controlling the Black Sea. It's strategic in the sense that the West wants to obviously destroy Russia, economically destroy it, meaning it then will be strategically destroyed. So controlling the Black Sea, I guess one of their main ports, and it's not actually Krasnodar, it is the Novorossiysk, and that is considered the port of Russia, as well as maybe Rostov-on-Don, and I guess I'm saying it probably the German way, but yeah, the U.S. wants to control that, and of course, as you all know, and I've been putting out, other people have been talking about it, they want to control the entire Baltic Sea, of course, and cut St. Petersburg off from the rest of the world. And of course, that would only leave Vladivostok all the way in the far eastern part, and it would negate all of the major cities, like such as St. Petersburg and Moscow, if the West was able to take over everything in the western part, and then everything would have to shift over to the east. A lot of that is getting shifted anyway, because of Russia's friendship with China, and that's another thing I've talked about. You guys already know about all that the United States is pivoting to the east and pivoting to China. I don't know what Obama called that. And of course Russia has pivoted as well, because they're basically trying, they're getting attacked by the hybrid war against Russia from the entire West. That includes the United States, by the way. And it's not just like that Donald Trump is trying to find a way to be sort of passive friends of Russia and still capitalize from Russia in other ways, economically. And it's maybe kind of justified. I don't know about saying that it's justified of what Donald Trump wants to do in Gaza, like kicking everybody out and then turning the place into a luxury resort for rich people. Oh, it looks like some bird ate it here. Some cat or a dog or something got it. Anybody like mushrooms? There's a lot of mushrooms around here apparently. But like I said, I'm not trying to say that Trump is such a nice guy, but it's a little bit more humane than Joe Biden. Joe Biden wanted the defeat, and of course all of Western Europe, like Estonia and all these, the big power of Estonia, the big Chihuahua state, they're like threatening Russia. We're gonna get you, and with our 4,000 man army. Anyway, okay, but Zelensky is calling. It doesn't help. In trying to get a peace anyway. Zelensky is calling the negotiators idiots. The Russian, and all he wants, Russia bad, Russia bad. Zelensky does not really want this to end, and a lot of people have been putting it out, including, I don't know, a lot of people. I tell you what, like in France and Romania and a lot of places know that Zelensky wants to keep it going, and so does the European Union, because these guys are getting huge amounts of money, and it's all about them. It's not about their countries. It's not about any people. It's about getting themselves money. And of course, if they can even swing some of these minerals deals and things like that, then they can of course pocket a lot of money as well. Donald Trump is not so much like a lot of people, since he's a rich guy, they think, oh, Donald Trump is a big greedy guy and he's out for lots of money. But I don't think Donald Trump, that's his deal. He's able to make money very easily whenever he wants to. And I don't think, it's not like Ursula von der Leyen and these people want to become part of the super rich. Zelensky, all this, they want to become the multi-billionaires. Pelosi, so many of them. Anyway, these politicians. It's weird if when they went into politics, a lot of these people, they were like just sort of a little bit upper middle class people, like even Kaya Kallas, and then strange that they become big multimillionaires, like even Zelensky. But Zelensky's he's a pretty big billionaire actually. A lot of people know that for an honest to God fact. He's got assets all over the place. Everybody knows about his assets, and he tries to hide them and putting them in other people's names, and by having companies. Maybe the company is his, and then the company buys these like real estate assets or the mining rights. He's got most of the mining in South Africa. Anyway, not to talk about this. You guys know this stuff. Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, he wants to eventually bring both Zelensky and Putin together for maybe finalizing some of these negotiations. And Putin, of course, made it clear that a lot of things have to happen before he would meet Zelensky. And I tell you what, at this point in time, even without Zelensky, all this turns out to be is a game of accusations, of course, on the side of Ukraine. Russia has come and they want to actually end this thing. And, they put aside some of their differences and they don't put any shows on like Ukraine is putting on a big show. I'll get into that in a minute. And, Ukraine, of course, wants a big show, and they want complete victory. Like I said, they want to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. So anyway, and then, like Zelensky makes this, I don't know if he thinks that this helps, this big media show of the things he says and what these people are demanding. So let's see. But anyway, it's a bad idea to, I think actually, to even, when it comes down, you saw the minerals deal. So when it comes down to it, and everything is already sort of agreed upon and all that, and then you get Zelensky involved, and then everything will blow up, because Zelensky he actually is not quite getting what he wants, and he wants to change everything, and he will try to do that by, he thinks he's swaying public of opinion for everybody on earth by his little media blitzes, like what he was trying to do in the White House, and he does it all the time. So to where everybody feels sorry for him, and oh, poor Zelensky or whatever. Oh, he's getting cheated out. The other people are cheating him, and blah 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 blah. And I don't know. But as you know, in these agreements, there's a lot of things talked about. And a lot of it's not exposed. And you're not going to be writing in all the nuances in this thing. Well, you did this and this time and all that and blah blah blah. So therefore, to make amends for that, we demand this of you. And if these things get agreed upon, and then Zelensky, when he gets into these public displays of his propaganda stuff, of course these things cannot be talked about, and it's way too much, so that's when he just turns it on to make it look like Russia's the aggressor. And of course he's not going to mention the fact that they heavily provoked Russia to do that. They were killing a lot of people, and in truth the aggressor was Ukraine, and backed by the West. But you can't say that in all of these negotiations and things like that. So Russia's just said, well, let's see what are the facts on the ground right now, and let's try to ameliorate them. And then Ukraine, now the one they came up with now, they came up with it. They came up with it before, and it was silent for a while. And I'll get into this right now. What's going on? Okay. Trump, of course, he wants to get involved to make it look like he's the big peacemaker. Oh, see, look at I can do it. He said he could do it in 24 hours, so that didn't work out anyway. Okay, what the Ukraine is doing now, and of course the negotiators, as well as Zelensky, he was in, where was it, in Latvia or Lithuania or something like that yesterday, and he was on public stage again saying the same sort of thing, the same thing his people were saying. And of course there is no fact to it, no truth to it whatsoever. He's trying to say that Russia abducted a whole bunch of children and that they have to let the children go and all that. And Russia says there are 0 children abducted. They do have some children, but they rescued them from the war zone and they reunite them with the family. I think Russia already put out, the negotiator Medinsky or whatever in Istanbul for the Russians, he said we reunited 100 and what was it? I don't know how many he said. Anyway, it was 22 that Ukraine reunited, supposedly, of children that they took. And Russia has much higher number. They've reunited these things, and it's a fact. Whenever they can find the family members and things when they took these children from the war zones. And you already know that Ukraine, I don't know if it's the government or who is doing this, or maybe these are people that are working on their own in the military or whatever. There's so much corruption in Ukraine. You don't know who's doing this stuff, but they're abducting children. They're into and this is a known fact. It's a known fact. And there's a lot of people been talking about it. Like a lot of these families, when they're going to Europe, they leave on buses, these women with their children. I don't think the young military age men can go, or maybe some of them can if they're maybe not able to fight, or were not able. Now they're trying to get everybody, but they were putting these people were on buses, and when they get off the bus, the children are taken from them and they never see their children again. As far as what I've been hearing, definitely the children are taken from them. I don't know if they ever see their children again. And of course, even within Ukraine, and then it's been put out, this is all stuff by witnesses, that they have these things in these buildings, and like in the basement, they have it really nice, and they're like breeding places, and they have women giving birth to children, and of course they give birth, and then I don't know what happens to the babies, but the babies are taken from them, and they're just there for the purpose of breeding children. I mean, that was already put out by witnesses, so anyway. Oh no, but Russia is doing bad stuff. I don't know. So there's all kinds of things going on in Ukraine. I put it out every day practically. So Ukraine is coming out, and it was even this Umerov, this one, who is this guy? He's the chief negotiator for Ukraine, and I guess he's the guy that was masturbating on the internet, and I guess that's fact as well. And he's the I don't know, what is he, the foreign minister of Ukraine? So nasty old guy. And he's saying that Russia's taking children as well. But you know, and you saw there's these lists. They have these lists, and it's a pretty long one from Russia because they spell it out exactly what they want to see from these peace negotiations. I don't even want to go over it. And Ukraine, theirs is quite a bit shorter, but they didn't put on there. It's Ukraine's was mostly the same as it used to be, and it was like, oh, that they want the territories back, and what else? And reparations and all that. So they changed the reparations into Ukraine getting all of the frozen assets, the Russian assets from all these countries, and all that money is to go to Ukraine. That was part of theirs, their demands, and getting out of those areas, and I don't know, a lot of the same things that they wanted. But what was missing from this, what they used to have before, is that they wanted Putin to stand trial for war crimes, and they didn't put that in there. So instead, and of course those war crimes were for allegedly stealing children or something like that, and I think they've even said that Lukashenko's doing it too, but these guys are, I don't know, they're doing anything for publicity and making this stuff up. But what was happening is they, I think because Ukraine, they had met with the EU, and a lot of these children that the Ukrainians are taking from Ukrainians, they're going to Germany and other places, and mostly in Germany, and that's been proven as well, because they found a lot of these children in Germany that were somehow disappeared, and supposedly that Russia took, but it turns out that they turned up in Germany. So what did Russia do? Did they steal them and then send them to Germany? And it's also known that a lot of them that were taken by the Ukrainians, they turned up in Germany. So it's, in other words, this is just some kind of a big game, and you don't know what the true information is, but I doubt very, very much that Russia is doing anything like that. So why would Russia do that? Do they need money, or does Ukraine need money? So anyway, but anyway, since on that list of Ukraine's, I don't know if you want to call it desires or demands, on their memorandum, it did not say that Putin was, they did not demand that Putin stands trial. But I think what they're trying to do, maybe the European Union is the one that is pushing this. Oh, you have to do this within these negotiations. Since it's not written down, they added it later, I believe, because for one thing, the Ukraine met personally with all these people from Europe right before the negotiations started. So it's sort of like they wanted a team of like, I don't know, 10 against 1, 10 of them against Russia. But it didn't happen that way. So I think, they're adding all this stuff a little bit later. And they're thinking that the momentum of them saying this stuff, and everybody's going to buy it, they think, oh, so now we'll instead on one of our things is to put Putin in to court and on trial and get him arrested as a war criminal or something like that. So also, let's see. In a sense, what they, in a sense, not innocence, in a sense, it's again Russia just demanding the complete surrender of Russia, and and it's not like Russia is demanding the surrender of Ukraine. They want the realities on the ground to be known. And it is well known by anybody that is following this. Ukraine could have retained all of those territories except Crimea, but instead they wanted to fight on, thanks to Boris Johnson going over there, probably at the behest of the United States, of Joe Biden, as a lot of people are saying. So anyway, they lost even more, and they're probably standing to lose even more. They might be losing at some point in time Nikolaev and maybe even Kharkov region. I don't know. We're going to find out, because I don't think this is going to be a success, this peace negotiation. They're too far apart. Ukraine needs to lose a lot more first, and of course it doesn't really matter, I don't think, even if if Russia gets even 2, 3, 4 more regions, I think Ukraine is still not going to change. They're going to think that, oh well, we can still do this, and of course the big goal, as you all know, Europe is of course behind Ukraine, and this is maybe just as much, maybe even more, Europe trying to defeat Russia than it is Ukraine, and Ukraine is just a tool. Ukraine is a tool of Europe, and the people of Ukraine are just a tool of the government of Ukraine. So they're just cannon fodder. You know, when some of these people start to realize this, you know, you think that, I don't know, I don't think, obviously, I don't think Zelensky and his, whatever you call them, his people care that much, because they are profiting, and they're profiting very, very nicely. So they don't care if they're being the tools. But maybe a lot of the people, I don't know if they have enough strength, or if it's even possible for them, because the whole country is overrun with a lot of Nazis. I don't know if they have any chance to rebel, because a lot of them, of course, are hopelessly brainwashed into thinking that the Russians are the bad guys and all this sort of stuff. I mean, they've been raised from small children to believe evil Russia, evil Russia. So it's not that they're on the side of Russia. They just don't want to be used as cannon fodder. If they start to realize that Russia is not their enemy, and which I doubt, then things would be changing. But it's not going to, I don't think. So, yeah. Anyway, but one point I was trying to make is, since the EU is involved in stealing these children as well as Ukraine, it's kind of weird. The criminals are the judges over the victims. You know, so I mean, they're sitting in judgment, even though they're the ones that are stealing the children. They're sitting in judgment over the Russians, who are trying to protect the children. It's really strange. That's the world of today, though. Yes. Let's see. It's I don't know. I was gonna say that this is also, it's part of something, you know, you call there's a they call it like projection, or mirroring. So you accuse your enemy, so to speak, your enemy or your opponent, of what you yourself are guilty of doing. So the EU, they probably are doing this, I'm thinking. They want Putin to be accused of doing this because they don't want to be caught that they are doing it. They are the ones doing it. And Belgium is also very big into this stuff. And I'm not talking about the EU, I'm talking about within Belgium. There's a lot of really crazy stuff that goes on there. If you've ever, I lived in Europe, so I know and I've heard about a lot of these things in the past. So, but obviously it looks like Germany too. There's some dark market, you know, with this child trafficking and things like that. It's not nowhere near as big as it is in Ukraine, but Ukraine, they kind of do it in the open. They're so used to this stuff. But anyway, like I said, it's kind of projection. It's trying to draw the attention away from yourself by accusing the victims of being the perpetrators, when in fact they are the perpetrators, the EU and Ukraine. Wow, very tricky stuff. You guys already know about this sort of thing. And the chief negotiator, Medinsky, he has come out and he is urging Ukraine to stop, you know, this little circus of accusing, because that seems to be their biggest thing, is to try, and some writers are saying, oh, it's to get the sympathy of the people of Europe. It's just the friggin' media show. It's the propaganda thing to get everybody on Ukraine's side. Those evil Russians, they're stealing children. And Medinsky saying, well, why don't you just stop this? And, you know, the whole thing is to make Russia lose, and to lose as much as they possibly can. And that's what they're doing. They cannot win the war, the Ukrainians. They have bad footage. They don't even want to talk about the reasons and the root causes of the war, because they're the ones that are very badly guilty of it. So they're trying to do it, win the war in other ways. You know, very corrupt people. It's not like they can figure out a way to, oh man, how do we ameliorate our problems? Anyway, one of the stipulations that Russia wants in their demands is to have normalized relations with Ukraine. But I don't think Ukraine wants that at all, because, like I said, these people are very, very heavily brainwashed. Okay. Ukraine attacked a substation, a power station in Zaporozhye region, and they, I guess, did some serious damage on that yesterday. And a lot of people are still talking about these attacks on these Russian air bases, you know, on these bombers, strategic bombers and all that. And I learned a little bit more information. I was listening to like Larry Johnson. He was talking to Judge Napolitano, and I guess by treaty, I think it's by the START treaty, It is a law that you have to have these strategic bombers in the open that is visible like by satellite. You cannot lock them up in a hangar somewhere. So Russia had them in the open. They go by the laws. The United States, by the way, does not go by the laws. They hide them. Unfortunately, Russia goes by rules. If you come over here, you'll find out that they certainly go by laws in Belarus and Russia, and that's sometimes even to their own detriment, as in this case. So, and you already know how they did this. They had these fake roofs on some wooden houses, and they hid the drones in there for a long period of time, in a year and a half in advance, and then they had these things in these remote controlled containers, and they parked them near the air bases, I guess, and by remote control, via satellite, they opened up these the roofs of these containers even, and they let these drones come out, or they had a hatch and they were sending these drones out like this. All the people were already in safety back in Ukraine, so these containers were there on their own, unmanned. Like I said, they did this remotely, and I guess for the most part, I don't know, not for the most part. Part of it, of course, was a big success, and apparently they did some pretty bad damage. I found out that lately, some pretty bad damage to some of these bombers, so they're going to need some repairs. Russia has like 40 something or 70 something, I don't know, quite a few of these. They're like 3 different types of bombers that they damage, and strategic, and some are like these massive ones that can carry a lot. These are like, I think it's a secondary attack, because I guess primary attack when you want to use these bombs is just by missiles, and secondary is the bombers. And Russia has, of course, a lot of missiles that they can fire, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and of course these bombers are secondary. It's not a big deal, and I don't know, what did they do? They destroyed 5% of maybe Russia's bombers, and not that they even destroyed them. I think 7 of them were bombed, and maybe some of them seriously, no casualties, but and anyway, but they're still, the point is that Ukraine is still making attacks. This was a military attack, and it turns out Larry Johnson came out, like I said, and he said, he was asked, do you think that the intelligence agencies, and I think he was even mentioning all of them, Judge Napolitano asked him, Mossad, MI6, and the CIA, which is, Britain, the United States, and the Israeli intelligence agencies, what do you think are what do you think that they were involved? To what percentage do you think they were involved or knew about these attacks? And Larry Johnson said 100%. And a lot of people, Jeffrey Sachs came out and said this, that definitely, especially when it went on for 1.5 years, people are wondering, well, how was this a failure? How did Russia fail and didn't know about this stuff? Their intelligence agencies. So it shows you that Russia does not have an all-powerful intelligence agency, and it looks like, obviously, apparently in my view, but obviously as far as Larry Johnson and a lot of experts, the West was heavily involved. Of course, Ukraine even admitted that. Zelensky came and admitted it. He's the one that came out and said 117 drones, and he was apparently intricately involved in the planning and doing all of this. So I don't exactly know. Maybe 117 actually worked, but some of these things didn't make it. Maybe 2 containers of drones that didn't work. They caught on fire, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I was hearing that it was maybe a lot more drones, and there were swarms. So what is a swarm? Maybe they had a swarm of 10 or 20 on each airbase. So then maybe, I guess, it works out to be 117 drones. Zelensky, he is the guy in charge, so he should know. Anyway, they're kind of bragging about this. And I guess it's now considered a defeat by Russia, and for Russia by those not involved, that this was a successful attack. So I guess it's maybe a humiliation. Somebody even said, oh, it's a 9/11 for Russia. Ah, it's not. And it's not even so super damaging to Russia, only maybe to their credibilities, I guess, intelligence agencies and their protection. But what Larry Johnson said, according to the New START agreement, that these bombers have to stay, like I just said, in the open. They cannot be put in hangars. They have to be visible. and the West doesn't follow that. And I don't know if Russia is going to make some changes now and say, well, okay, now you guys don't follow, we don't follow it anymore either. I don't know. It still makes you wonder why they didn't have, since these are somewhat important airplanes. Maybe it's not so important. Maybe that's why they weren't under protection. And maybe because these drones were very close, who knows? Maybe they were a few hundred meters away and they were able to do some mass destruction on these things. I think from the footage, I don't know if it's AI or not. You never know if it's AI. It looked like some of them were hit pretty badly, but I don't know. Maybe I'm, like I said, being fooled by AI. Anyhow, so the substation, 100,000, I was talking about that originally. So Ukraine hit a substation in the Zaporozhye area, and I guess over 100,000 people are now without electricity until they get it returned. So Ukraine is still doing a lot of the stuff, but this is all, of course, Russia could do this because that's considered civilian infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and Ukraine hits that. Russia doesn't necessarily do that. They do things only when it's connected to military, but they have hit substations and things like that too. But like I said, they were mostly connected to military. Okay, some experts are calling this UK's talk from, what was it, the day before Starmer, that it's a declaration of war, that the UK is declaring war on Russia, even though the war hasn't started yet, you know, and they're not really ready for it. And Starmer, I guess what he was saying is it's because of Russia threatening the, what was it, shipping, British shipping, which he didn't have any justification, any kind of evidence for it. It's just a way, and as like I saw Alex Cristoforo a video yesterday, and then he's probably right that what's going on is Keir Starmer is trying to draw attention away from this scandal, this arson scandal by his bum boys. You know, these 3 guys at least. Who knows how many he's got altogether? But these 3 guys that I guess Zelensky recommended to him as good bum boys, and apparently he's trying to draw attention away from that. So this is actually some big news, and of course a lot of people are saying he is the least popular prime minister in the history of Great Britain. George Galloway said that, other people as well. So I don't know if it's because of the bum boy scandal, or maybe it's a lot of things, because he's very bad. It doesn't look like Great Britain has the capacity to get a prime minister that people favor. I don't know. Like I said some days ago, I haven't heard any talk since then, but you know, trying to dust off old Boris Johnson and put him in there again, maybe so he can make his wild white powder visits to Zelensky, his buddy. I don't know. Maybe he's got some bum buddies recommended by Zelensky as well. I have no idea. Okay, Trump continues to threaten Iran, and he wrote in capital letters, "We will not allow any enrichment of uranium," you know, not even for civilian peaceful purposes, is basically. He didn't say that, but that's what he means. None whatsoever. So even though it's declared in the United Nations that that is allowed, Trump does not want to allow it. And Iran is saying, we will never stop doing this. You are not going to stop us from doing it. That will not be part of the agreement. We still want, you know, we have needs for enriched uranium. And Trump says no enriched uranium. So anyway, there's a sticking point right there. And of course, Donald Trump had said in the past, who knows, he's going to, maybe he wants everybody to forget this, that if they don't stop, then it's going to be bombs. He basically said it's going to be bombing Iran. Other people are saying heavy sanctions. You know, Lindsey Graham. Yeah, that's another one. Lindsey Graham, I guess he was also very knowledgeable about what was going on with these attacks. Not just the MI6 and CIA and Mossad, but some people are saying that even Pete Hegseth was watching this in real time, watching Ukraine's attack on these bombers. So apparently the United States did know about it. They act like they don't, and they've done that before when everybody knows that they did. You know, all these, like the MI6 and, you know, the UK, they try to act like they don't know anything about it. Oh, that surprised us. So anyway, it turns out that they they did, and I think Ukraine admitted that these people trained in the UK, and this was going on for 1.5 years before this operation, so they knew about it. So, and Larry Johnson was calling this plausible deniability. You know, that's that term that they used some other time. So they make it, and it might not be that this Radcliffe, who's in charge of the CIA, or Tulsi Gabbard even knew anything about this, but some people probably did. Anyway, so, and to close all this stuff, apparently, maybe because everybody is looking at this stuff, you know, in Israel, they're masters of a lot of this stuff. When the world has got their attention away from what they're doing. So the dead tree. Some crows up there making a lot of noise. So when when everybody's attention is drawn away from Israel, Israel does some more nastiness, and apparently they bombed some people waiting for food distribution that was brought there by the United States. So the United States sponsored food distribution was ongoing at that time, and Israel bombed it. And at least 30 people are dead from that. I don't know if more are going to die, but apparently there's a lot of bombings, a lot of things going on, lots and lots and lots of them, when it entails like the killing of a couple people, some children, all that, and we never really hear about it. And this is one instance where there's like 30 people, at least 30 people killed, and we didn't hear about it. So, from Israel. So the killing continues, and I don't know if there is any. I thought I found a Telegram site where they were, of course, reporting a lot of these killings and things every day or periodically when Israel has these mass killings of people. But I don't know. Maybe they got them, and that is discontinued or whatever. So anyhow, people, it continues, and there's not going to be peace necessarily. Everybody's too far away from it right now. For example, Iran and the United States, and there was some sort of a proposal of Iran getting enriched uranium somehow under the observation of a lot of some other foreign, like maybe European or whatever, observers, and Israel went ballistic on that. So anyway, that's the whole deal. All this stuff, everybody's too far away. Everybody wants power except for Russia. Russia just wants everything normalized, and they want to get power on their own, by economic activities and whatever else they can do, without any kind of war, and they want to take care of their people. But a lot of these other people out there, they want to come and plunder Russia. They want to plunder this country. They want to plunder that country, and all these other countries, they just want to be left alone and to be prosperous economically by their own talents, I guess. I don't know. But the West and their buddies, I don't know. This is just like a big circus, like I said. It's I should try to put together some kind of a studio and write things out and get a what do you call it, a teleprompter or something like that, and put these things out a lot easier. I think a lot of people do use those. Matter of fact, I know they do, or they're looking at their computer screen. I've seen, you can see that they're reading. But anyway, I could probably do it a lot better if I do that. I don't know what you guys think. So, tomorrow I'll probably be going to a few castles in Belarus, and if I do, I'll film. Unfortunately, this is a Samsung. It's not a Huawei, or when you get Samsungs or Apples, they don't have that much battery life in them, so you can't film for that long. I got to bring a charger and find some place maybe halfway through and charge it up. Like I said, if I had a Huawei, I would be able to make a 1 hour video and upload it all at the same time. But I don't know. My Huawei is older, and Donald Trump, as you remember, in his first term, he went after Huawei, and he got Google and everybody else to go after. You know, all this stuff is done for economics, and for power and economics and domination, the masters of the universe. Anyway, so that's all I have to put out for right now. If anything else, I'll maybe put something out later. I don't know. If anything drastic happens, and these days you never know. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.